Thank you for the introduction, Gert. So what I'm going to try and convey to you in the next 15 minutes or so is just how complex this project is and how we're addressing that complexity in how we're going to deliver the project. So this is a mega project, and everybody, I think, who runs a mega project will always say, oh, my project's really difficult, it's unique. This one truly is. I've worked on high-speed rail projects from Australia to America. I've never come across one with the complexity that this project has. And it drives everything in how we are approaching the delivery of this project. So we've got all the same issues as every other project. We're a big project, but we're the biggest that's ever been built in the Baltics. As you heard from Kasper's earlier, we've already launched the tender for the largest ever infrastructure construction project in Latvia. As Karolis mentioned, we are building the largest railway bridge in the Baltics as part of this. So the dimensions of this project is something that has not been seen by the local industry, and will need the help and support of suppliers from the rest of Europe to allow us to really deliver this project. The 870 kilometers, the hundreds of structures we need to deliver, the enormity of what we have to deliver is beyond anything that's been done in the region before. But it's added in its complexity by the fact that we ourselves as Rail Baltica are building in 3 countries, but actually the whole system spans 5. It includes connections to Finland, and of course our colleagues in Poland are building Rail Baltica down to Warsaw as well. So just the level of coordination to deliver something like that is huge, and I'll talk about that more in a moment. The implementation structure we've got, you've seen some of the members from some of the people involved, again, makes the complexity huge. The scale of the benefits that we're delivering, which you'll hear about in a panel later today, is enormous, more than 16 billion. And we have to take that into account in all the delivery and the planning that we're doing. And just the number of stakeholders. So on a normal project, you'd have maybe 1, maybe 2 electricity companies to deal with. We've got them in 3 different countries. We've got multiple utilities, multiple municipalities. So the stakeholder challenge is huge. So can we move to the next slide, please? So in order to address all these challenges, we need to have a really strong set of project controls, a strong coordination between us on how we deliver the project, a strong PMO, if you like. This is essential to allow us to coordinate all these different parts of the complexity of the organization. We need to have a single schedule, a single Gantt chart that coordinates everything across all parts of Rail Baltica to make sure it is delivered together and delivers a railway system that Mark Philippe was explaining just now. We are building one system, we're not building 3 separate railways. So synchronization of inputs from all the different countries is important, clarity of responsibilities, clarity on timing, and a single basis for all the data, a single source of truth is what we in Rail Baltica as coordinator are there to do, is to ensure that everybody has the same data, that decisions can be made effectively in all countries based on what is actually happening on the project now and what is forecast to happen on the project going forward. So we need alignment of schedule, we need alignment of risks, of cost estimates, and I'll talk about these elements as well as we go forward. Next slide, please. So let me explain a little bit more about the complexity of the organizational structure. So first up this morning, we had the 3 ministers from the 3 different governments. So these are what we call the beneficiaries. These are who we are delivering the project for. Each of them have nominated shareholders in our organization, RB Rail. So we are a company that is owned by 3 different national governments. Although we're based in Latvia, we have branches both in Estonia and in Lithuania as well. So as an organization, we have a complex structure in terms of how we're supervised and managed. And then in addition to the complex structure above us, there's also a fairly complex structure below us as well. So we're responsible for delivering some of the works, but also there are national implementing bodies in each country who also deliver some of the works. So effectively, there are 4 different organizations doing construction of this railway. So our key role in the middle is that level of coordination between the 3 governments and all the implementing bodies. And so again, the ability to provide the consistency, the coordination and the support to all those elements is what drives how our organization is set up and what we are doing at RB Rail. Next slide, please. Oh, next one. Thank you. We're also complex from a, if you like, a horizontal perspective. Agnes mentioned earlier that we split the railway horizontally. And you can think of a boundary sort of at the top of the rail level. Everything from rail and below is delivered by the national implementing bodies. So that's 3 different organizations in each countries. And then actually there's some cross-border sections that we as RB Rail are building. But the majority is the national implementing bodies. So Kaulis, Tonu and Caspers that presented earlier are responsible for building these elements themselves to designs that have been prepared by RB Rail. Then everything above rail, so this is the signalling, the power, the communications, all the other systems, because they need to be consistent across the whole railway, RB Rail as an organisation will be responsible for procuring and delivering these. And you'll hear more from Christian later this afternoon about the status of those procurements as we go forward with the project in this year and following years. But the fact that there are multiple parties delivering this project, again, adds to the complexity and the level of control and coordination that we need to provide in the PMO systems in terms of schedule, cost, and everything else. Next slide, please. So, in order to do that, how do we achieve it internally? How do we address the continuously changing environment that we have around us? Well, it means we have to have a very flexible organization, and it means we need to have good and strong systems. So a common risk register, a common IT interface that is used by all implementing bodies, common systems for learning, common systems for sharing, so that we all have similar data. So if something happens in Estonia, we can share that information with our colleagues in Lithuania to ensure they can learn the lessons from it and maybe improve the way they deliver going forward. So our role is not just planning, but it's also that knowledge sharing across all the different organizations, making sure we have the right people, the right interfaces with stakeholders, and we're really set up to ensure we can coordinate and deliver. And that means that we as Rail Baltica have got a real combination of both global experience and local knowledge from the 3 Baltic states within our team as well. So I have people from a number of countries across Europe as part of the team, but I also have a strong core of local staff as well from all 3 Baltic countries as part of that project controls team, providing that coordination. Next one, please. Health and safety is a key element of what we are doing in everything we do. So coordination also applies across health and safety. Now, normally you wouldn't see this put with project controls, but because it's something that needs a similar level of coordination, we're kind of treating it in a similar way. So we will have a common health and safety management and reporting system where we collect data from incidents across all the delivery, not just the RB Rail delivery, but by the other implementing bodies as well. So we can start looking at trends across all areas, start learning lessons, helping avoid incidents and achieving our goal of delivering this project with the minimum of impact on our staff, our organization and the environment. So that coordination, the health and safety, it's nothing unique, but coordinating across so many different bodies is a real challenge, and it's why we're putting together some specialist systems to allow us to do that. Next slide, please. Cost management is also a key element of what we need to present and what we need to deliver. Why is it a challenge for us? Well, firstly, our costs come from 3 different countries, and unit rates are slightly different in each locality. Local costs, local taxes, everything is slightly different. So we can't just have a single cost across the whole project. We have to build our costs up in each individual country as we're doing our cost estimating. And this will then drive how we do our cost management going forward. But there's another element to cost management that is really, really unique on this project as well. And that relates to where our funding comes from. So as, again, Agnes mentioned earlier, we get funding through the Connecting Europe, through the European Commission, but we get it in a series of grants. And each grant is allocated to specific activities. And we have to ensure that for each individual project, we allocate the cost to the right activity in each grant. Now, at the moment, we have 6 active grants with 97 different activities that we have to allocate our cost to. So every single euro that we spend has to be allocated correctly to each of those. And then we have to be able to report both to the European Commission and to each of the national governments on how we are progressing with the spend against each of the activities, because not only is the money from the European government, but also there is co-funding from the 3 national governments as well. So we have to report against 97 different activities. One individual project is not always funded by one activity. It may be funded by 3 or 4. So within an individual project, we have to break the cost down and allocate it. It's a level of complexity, which I think you'll agree is beyond what you would normally see on a project where you could just allocate your cost. Here we have to ensure that every penny is allocated to the right activity. And most of these activities have very strict timeframes on them as well. So we have to finish within a certain time. Next slide, please. So that's the bit that I've just explained about how the structure works between the different grant agreements. So we'll move on. Last slide, please. I've been on this project for 2 years. It is unique. The complexities are unique, but it means that a common approach is the only thing that is going to allow us to be successful in delivering that. And that's a strong set of project controls, a strong common understanding of what our goals and objectives are, and a combined effort to achieve them. We've adopted approaches that I've used, others have used on similar mega projects around the world, but we've adapted them to the challenges of this project. So that includes the cost management system, the reporting system, scheduling is all adapted to what we need on this project. And finally, how to be successful on this project. And this is something really I would stress to all the suppliers, all the people who want to get involved externally. The way to be successful is to have that combination of international and local knowledge. There's no point coming in and saying, I've built big railway projects elsewhere in Europe, so I know how to deliver and be involved in construction of this project. The Baltics are unique. I'm still learning how unique they are, even after 2 years, but you need that combination of local knowledge and international experience for success. That's what we've built within the Rail Baltica team. I think you've seen it today. Myself, Mark Philippe, we've brought a lot of knowledge and experience from a range of projects around the world, but we don't even start to think we know how to deliver this project on our own. It's a combination, the whole team within RB Rail, within the implementing bodies and the beneficiaries that will make this project a success. Thank you for listening. Gert, back to you. And apologies for my little interruption.